In the future, natural catastrophes and crises threaten the planet, forcing world leaders to convene and search for solutions. After thorough discussions at the United Nations, the leaders agreed to reduce the global population by 20%. They reached this decision because every disaster they faced could be traced back to human-made problems. Following the order issued by the UN Secretary-General, all international borders were closed until each nation reduced its population to the required number. This drastic measure was deemed necessary due to severe shortages of food and resources across the planet. A government water distribution vehicle was later seen handing out water to locals. A little girl noticed officials from the Department of Citizen Strategy clearing a house after euthanizing one of its residents. Bob, who oversaw the operation, handed a paper to the woman inside, confirming that her household now met the population requirement. Nearby, piano movers Yusuf and Malik drove past and noticed a commercial promoting voluntary enlistment in the euthanasia program. Frustrated by the state of the world, Malik threw his coffee at the poster in protest. Later, Yusuf and Malik arrived at the York residence, shielding themselves from the sun with an umbrella. Due to extreme solar radiation, people were forced to use umbrellas outdoors and protective window tints at home. Inside, Yusuf and Malik carried a large umbrella upstairs, while a man on TV discussed the benefits of enlisting, even suggesting lowering the enlistment age to include children. His remarks angered viewers nationwide. When asked whether he would allow his own son to enlist, he replied that he would consider it. The movers soon realized that the man on TV was Jared York, the son of their client, Charles York, a famous journalist. Outraged, they criticized Jared's views, but when Charles overheard them, they quickly apologized. Charles assured them that he shared their anger and disagreed with his son's opinions. After the movers left, Charles looked at a family photo of his second wife, Dawn, his children, Jared, Ashley, and Rachel, and his adopted son, Noah. He had invited them all to dinner, and Dawn, a celebrity chef, was preparing a luxurious Korean meal. Meanwhile, Charles was seen clearing the house of alcohol and other items, seemingly preparing to leave. Dawn appeared distressed and cried as she hugged her husband. The news reported that the Department of Citizen Strategy was now armed to handle unrest, and also revealed that York Therapeutics, Rachel's company, was being sued for fraud. Soon after, Jared arrived at the York residence. While still in his car, his wife called him, furious about his interview. She threatened never to let him see their son again. Jared defended himself, claiming the reporter had misrepresented his words, but his wife refused to let him speak to their son and hung up. Jared entered the house and waited for Charles, who was preparing for dinner. At one point, Charles peeled off the protective window tint to feel the sunlight, but found it unbearable. Moments later, he came downstairs and saw Rachel and her daughter Mia entering the house. Delighted to see his granddaughter, Charles nonetheless asked Rachel why she had brought Mia, reminding her that the dinner was intended for adults only. After Mia headed to the kitchen, Rachel explained that Mia had seen news about the allegations against York Therapeutics and had become upset, so she brought her along to cheer her up. Meanwhile, Noah, the adopted son, debated whether to join the family. He called his girlfriend, Grace, who encouraged him to go inside and use the opportunity to share their relationship with his family. After hanging up, Noah hesitated but ultimately turned to leave, only to run into Ashley, who convinced him to come in with her. On the way to the house, Ashley excitedly told Noah about landing a role in a commercial audition for a video game. In the car, Noah mentioned Grace. Ashley questioned why he hadn't told the family about her yet. Noah made her promise to keep it a secret until he was ready to share. She agreed, but made him promise not to keep any more secrets from her. When they entered the house, Charles was pleasantly surprised to see Noah after such a long time and hugged him warmly. Now that everyone had gathered, the family sat down to enjoy the delicious dinner Dawn had prepared. She had recently closed her restaurant and now cooked only at home, which might have explained her recent sadness. During dinner, Charles made a toast and apologized to his children for not spending enough time with them because of his demanding work. After dinner, he revealed the real reason for the gathering. He and Dawn had enlisted in the euthanasia program to help the country achieve its 20% population reduction goal. He explained that this was why the dinner was meant for adults only and asked Mia to go upstairs. Jared questioned their decision, pointing out that they didn't need the financial incentives offered to volunteers. Charles explained that after reporting on the extinction of the Amazon rainforest due to fires, he realized the planet could not sustain more people. He added that if no one volunteered and the government was forced to randomly select people, he would never forgive himself if any of his children were chosen. Jared, who had connections with the enlistment policy and government, assured his parents that even if they were selected, he could take their place, making their early sacrifice unnecessary. He explained that the policy only required one family member to enlist, and the rest of the family would be spared while receiving a significant financial reward. Dawn countered, stating that, given the York family's fame, their example would inspire other families to volunteer and preserve the York family legacy. The argument grew heated, and Dawn left for the kitchen while the rest of the family continued to disagree. Later, the family gathered in the living room to discuss the enlistment policy. Charles asked who would be chosen first if no one volunteered. Jared explained that illegal immigrants were at the top of the list, but their families would be compensated, and they would be fast-tracked to citizenship. Charles expressed his outrage, calling the policy racist. He mentioned how hatred toward Asian countries had grown as they were often blamed for the current global crisis. He firmly stated that he didn't want their country to follow that path. Charles also revealed a painful truth about Dawn's restaurant, explaining that it wasn't closed. It had been burned down by racist attackers, leaving Dawn deeply depressed. During the discussion, Ashley accidentally mentioned Noah's girlfriend, catching Charles's attention. Noah then admitted he was dating a woman named Grace and reassured everyone that she was nothing like his past girlfriends, who had been drug addicts. Noah had a troubled history. He had once struggled with drug addiction and caused a tragic accident that resulted in his girlfriend's death and left him injured. Now he told Charles that he had turned his life around and shared that he had a job playing piano at the place Grace managed. Hearing this, Charles expressed pride in Noah's progress. The family then found a letter from Dawn saying she had left because she couldn't go through with the enlistment. Soon after, the doorbell rang, and Bob arrived with his team from the Department of Citizen Strategy. Charles informed Bob that Dawn was gone and asked for time to bring her back to proceed with the euthanasia. Bob spoke privately with Charles and handed him paperwork to sign. After reading it, Charles refused and questioned Bob, asking if he even knew who he was. Remaining calm, Bob replied that he didn't care as long as Charles's name was on the list. Later, all the children gathered in Charles's bedroom, where Noah played the piano he had brought earlier. It became clear that Bob had convinced Charles to proceed with the euthanasia. Charles told his children that he loved them and announced that his assets would be divided equally among the four of them. Bob administered the necessary drugs, and Charles passed away peacefully. Bob's men took Charles's body away, but Bob reminded the family that he had come to collect 2 bodies from the Yorks and had only received 1. The family refused, explaining that Dawn had left and they had no one else to offer. Bob's men then entered the house armed, threatening the family to choose one among them to be killed and taken away. Bob grabbed Mia and took her to his car, assuring them he wouldn't harm her because she was a minor. He gave the family 2 hours to decide unless Dawn was found. When Jared said he could use his connections with high-ranking government officials to help, Bob revealed that the house was under lockdown with no cellular or Wi-Fi network available. Bob then exposed the family's darkest secrets, stored by the government, including their browsing histories and crimes committed against one another. He told them that he was confident one of them would eventually sacrifice themselves for the others. Rachel, who had committed multiple felonies, became furious and punched Bob in the face when he tried to read her secrets aloud. Despite this, Bob remained calm and left the house with his men, warning them that if they couldn't decide, he would make the decision for them. In the tense aftermath, the York family gathered in the living room, poring over the classified files in disbelief. Each page deepened their horror. The truth was unbearable, and despite their overwhelming guilt, they couldn't come to a consensus on who among them should volunteer for euthanasia. As the discussion heated up, Jared proposed that Noah should be the one to sacrifice himself. He argued that Noah had squandered every opportunity their father had given him and had wasted his life. Ashley immediately objected, claiming Jared himself wasn't someone worth saving. Noah defended himself, stating that he had changed, that he was no longer the person he used to be. He urged them all to honor their father's final wish by finding another way, one that didn't involve sacrificing anyone. Unable to agree, they contacted Bob and informed him they were at an impasse. Bob suggested a neutral method, drawing sticks, but the family refused. Then Rachel posed a grim question: could they simply deliver a body rather than have someone volunteer? Bob confirmed they could. With that, he left the house, leaving them to make a decision. After Bob's departure, Rachel began conspiring against Noah. She slowly convinced the others that sacrificing him was the only way out. Without warning, she stabbed Noah with a knife. To Bob's silent disappointment, Ashley joined her, handing Rachel the weapon again to finish what she started. Ashley then sprayed Noah with pepper spray, and Jared struck him with a metal rod. Despite the assault, Noah pleaded with them to stop, reminding them they were family. But they were beyond reasoning. Noah defended himself, evading serious injury, but refused to raise his hand against Ashley. She blinded him with the spray, and Rachel seized the moment, stabbing him in the back. Wounded and in pain, Noah locked himself in the bathroom, tending to his injuries. He later retreated to a bedroom, trying to compose himself. Desperate, he attempted to contact Grace, but found there was no cell signal. In frustration, he hurled his phone out the window. Once far enough, the message was sent. Driven now by both survival and resolve, Noah broke apart a chair, arming himself with a wooden leg. He set out to confront his treacherous siblings. At the same time, Bob received word that Dawn had been found, but he chose to do nothing, silently observing the events as they unfolded. Noah eventually found Ashley hiding in a closet. She tearfully apologized and told him the others were waiting in the living room. As they walked together, Noah noticed a family photo in the hallway, and in that moment of reflection, Rachel ambushed him, stabbing his hand and pinning it to the wall. Noah retaliated, managing to hit Rachel, while Ashley fled the scene. He painfully pulled the knife from his hand and ran into another room, only to be pursued by Jared. A fierce fight broke out. Noah struck Jared, then stabbed Rachel in the neck with a fork. As he tried to escape, Ashley crept up and knocked him unconscious. The siblings tied him up, resolved to end his life. Standing over him with knives in hand, they hesitated. None of them could bring themselves to do it. Just then, Grace arrived at the door, demanding to see Noah. She began filming everything, unnerving the trio. The siblings stepped outside to confront her. Meanwhile, Mia, realizing the danger, caused a disturbance on the bus and was told to flee for help. Tragically, one of Bob's men shot and killed her as she ran. The family was paralyzed by grief and horror. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, Rachel suggested they offer Grace as the second body, but Bob coldly reminded them that Grace wasn't a York, and therefore didn't qualify. He gave them 15 minutes to make a decision and left. When they re-entered the house, Noah was gone, and the lights suddenly went out. The siblings armed themselves with a flashlight and began searching. Out of the darkness, Noah struck, stabbing Ashley, then attacking Rachel and Jared. He strangled Ashley, only stopping when Rachel begged for his mercy. When she claimed she would volunteer herself, Noah relented. Breathing heavily, Noah told them no one in their family would die. Instead, they would kill Bob. The siblings treated Ashley's wounds and quickly formulated a plan. They told Bob they had selected a candidate. When Bob and one of his men entered the living room, they found Ashley lying still on the floor. As Bob approached her, the siblings sprung their trap. Ashley stabbed his man while Noah seized Bob and held a knife to his throat. Bob's remaining men entered the house, but he ordered them to surrender their weapons, which they did. Once the danger had passed, the siblings knocked Bob unconscious. When Bob awoke, he was tied up. The siblings prepared to execute him the same way he had orchestrated their father's death. Bob, calm under pressure, warned them that killing a government agent would lead to grave consequences. Mia and Jared's son would be taken by the state. Jared held the syringe containing the euthanizing drug, but before injecting it, Bob offered a deal. He would protect them legally and help them avoid prosecution if they let him go. The siblings exchanged glances. It was the only option that didn't cost them someone else they loved. Sometime later, Noah stood on a stage, dressed in a sharp suit, performing at a grand concert hall. In the audience were Rachel, Mia, Jared, his son, and Dawn, all watching him with pride and love. Elsewhere, the news aired footage of Ashley and Grace, now reported to have enlisted in the euthanasia program. They were being celebrated nationwide as national heroes. On screen, Bob praised their bravery, lying to the nation by claiming he had personally retrieved their bodies. The country rejoiced in the illusion. The truth remained hidden. What did you think? Did the ending surprise you, or were you expecting it all along? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next movie breakdown. Want more? Check out our recap of similar movie right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.